Yeah, right. Thank you. First of all, as a pastor here for a couple of decades now, I'm just incredibly grateful to the men and women that serve faithfully to make this happen. We've been doing this for a long time, and so I just want you all to hear my gratitude. The hands and feet of God, there's no doubt about it. I've had people ask me, so why would a church do this type of ministry? And the answer is simply, why wouldn't we? We have a space, we have a time, we have a heart, and we have people who want to serve. And I'm just grateful for that to John and Foster and Pete and Jim and Gary and all of the people that make this happen. I just want to say thank you very, very much. And thank you for, they say that we have three resources, and both of our money, our time, and sort of our energy, who we give ourselves to or what we give ourselves to. And time is a pretty precious commodity. And the fact that you have given some of your time to this ministry, to this effort, our great desire is to steward it faithfully, because it's a pretty valuable commodity. And I think you will find a good return on the investment of your time is my deepest prayer. So all of that to say, it's dangerous to give a pastor a microphone and just say a few minutes, but I will get to what they ask me to do each time, and that is just to simply give perhaps a little a little word of encouragement, something hopefully that you can chew on that may help you in the process of the search that you're in. And so I thought this morning what I would do is kind of talk about one sort of mindful or thoughtful truth, and then one practical way to make that truth real. I'm a believer, obviously, I'm a Christian, but I'm also prone to sometimes some magical thinking. And it manifests itself this time of year. You know, you turn the calendar and it's a new year, right? And things will be different. And I can't wait till this year is done in the past, because this year is going to be different. And there's, some comfort in that. I understand that. But practically and logically, it doesn't change. I mean, the calendar changes, and I find my life kind of still the same. And during this time, what I've was able to do, what was brought to me, I was reading in my Bible, and I was reading about in the book of Lamentations, which is a heavy Old Testament book that talks about grief. And there's a line in there that I wanted to share with you from a practical, a thoughtful standpoint. And it basically says this: God's mercies are new each and every day. So it's not that I have to wait till the year or the month change, that I have been promised that each day his mercies are new every day. And I wonder, what would that be? And again, the prophet wrote that in a time of real valley. He wasn't on a mountaintop. He was in a valley when he wrote that. God, your mercies are new each and every day. And sometimes when I'm in that place, every day, it seems like Groundhog's Day, right? Nothing changes, man. Nothing changes. The harder I run, it's like running in quicksand. The harder I go, the deeper I sink. I'm wondering if you were able to grasp that truth, where the mercies are new each and every day. What would that be like? I don't have to be exhausted. I can be refreshed. I don't have to be discouraged. I can be encouraged. I don't have to be cynical. I can be hopeful. What would your life look like each and every day if you woke up realizing that there is an opportunity to look at this day different than yesterday? Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing to have? I believe that's available. So here comes the practical truth. How do you see that? How do you access that new mercy? And that's something I kind of created. It says it's microscopes and telescopes. Meaning, to be able to see the mercy, you have to use the right tool. So here's how it works. If I am grinding and there is things right in front of me, and it's just really intense, and it's very direct and in front of me, It's like my whole life is looking at it through a microscope, where it's just this beating that I'm having to go through today. You have to change your tool, and you have to look at it through a telescope. And you have to remember that God is big, that this day, this too shall pass, that I've been through this before, that there isn't a deterministic end. So if you're grinding and you just keep running hard in one spot, change the tool to a telescope. You're using a microscope, and that's the wrong thing. It's true in its opposite effect. If you're looking at it and it's overwhelming, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do it, it's absolutely overwhelming. You're looking at your life through a telescope, and you need to use a microscope, which means you just simply have to do the next right thing. NRT, next right thing. And you're able to see then his mercies when you use the right tool. So if I'm grinding and I can't think about anything more than the beating that's right in front of me, change your perspective and say, God is sovereign, God is good, God is present, God is with me. Hold on to that truth. But if it's also overwhelming and you don't know where you're going, what you're doing, change your tool from a telescope to a microscope and say, Lord, you're present with me right here today. I just have to get this next right thing done. And so as you enter into 2026 and recognize that just because the calendar changed, perhaps the circumstances in your life have not changed. Remember, his mercies are new each and every morning. And to be able to see those mercies, you have to use the right tool. So guys, I pray that you have a fantastic morning. I don't know where you are spiritually at all, and it doesn't matter right now. I just am glad you're here. And I pray that the time you spend at this meeting with these souls gathered around here is uplifting for you, is encouraging for you, and is hopeful. So let me pray. Father God, thank you for the privilege of gathering under your name. Lord, thank you for your presence. Lord, I just ask that you move in each and every soul's life that is gathered here. Lord, if they are so focused, help them to see through a telescope who you are. And Lord, if it's overwhelming and they don't know where to begin, Lord, help them change that tool to a microscope so they can see your presence in their day-to-day, in their moment by moment. Lord, I trust that you are that kind of God, and I just ask that you move, and that this time that we are gathered here this morning is rich and beneficial for our good and your glory. It is in your name I pray. Amen. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so with that, we'll get rolling here, and Brother Foster is going to come on up and with Pete Hernandez, and they're going to give you some useful information, and we'll get started. Good job.
Foster Williams, glad he's back with us. Right now he's doing his Tim Conway imitation, but he'll be.
Took me a little while longer.
All right, you want to do yours first or you want me to do mine first?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, so I've got a few jobs I want to announce real quick. Let's see here.
Everybody here to get a job.
I don't know. Some people are slacking off. All these people over here, they slack off all the time. So, all right. So we have a commercial relationship and servicing supervisor. That job is here in Plano. It's for a commercial lending company, so they want commercial lending experience. And it's really, as they phrase it, an early career opportunity. He made it clear to me that anybody with, like 10 years experience need not apply, looking for somebody early on in their career. If you're interested in that role, you can go to careers.cav as in Victor, CO, so cavco.com, careers.cavco.com, and look for job number CPM as in Mary 118. And that was passed on to me by an alum over at South Lake Focus Group. have an Underwriter 3 title for non-delegated mortgage, whatever that is. That one's a remote job, and that's with AmeriHome Mortgage. If you're interested in that one, let me know. The URL is very long, so I'll have to show it to you if you want to apply for that one. That was passed to us again for our alum. L3 Harris Engineering is having a job fair in Rockwall on the 20th from 2 to 5:30. They are looking primarily for all types of engineers, from software engineers to electrical engineers. Must have at least 3 years experience, must be a U.S. citizen, and must be eligible to apply for a top secret clearance. So keep those things in mind if you're going to that job fair for L3 Harris on the 20th from 2 to 5:30 over in Rockwall. If you go to the jobs.l3harris.com, you will see the posting there for their job fair and more details than I can provide right now. And then lastly, there's an HR Analyst 3 position in Houston, but it's a 6-month contract. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll pass you the information for that one as well. Foster, take it away.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I am glad to be back. John gave me the mic, so that's more dangerous than giving the mic to Steve Fisher.
True.
Just remember.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. Pete's hurrying me along. Y'all, honestly, I couldn't do this if it wasn't for Pete. There's some people that I want you guys to meet that are very important people in this network. And they're the folks that help you navigate through this network we have. I am the creator of the Career Search Network. It started back in 1996, and so we started building. I am overly blessed today to have Gail Houston with us because Gail, where is Gail? I just saw her somewhere. Gail, where are you? There you. You're sitting over there by yourself. You're sitting over there where we usually sit during the workshop. So we have been family, guys. A lot of us recruiters, and Gail don't like when I spend time telling about her, but in my estimation, I think Gail's the #1 recruiter in the United States. So I want you guys to listen very carefully to what Gail has to say today. Pay attention to what she's saying. She's going to cut through the minutia. There, I guess I can say that in the church. So double excited. Okay, there's some more folks, guys. A part of this network, where is Sophie? And I see Sophie and Hadley back there. Those ladies are very, very good recruiters. They work with Thomas Edwards Group. Thomas Edwards Group is our official partner in the network, and they do everything. They started out being in accounting and finance only. The companies really like the way they attend to their client companies, so they've got an IT division and they've got an HR division. Got to get those HR people in there. So I want you guys to meet them at the break. They should be around if they don't have to run off and go see a client or something. So thank you, Hadley and Sophie. Moving right along, John Ernett and there's John. There's John right there in front of me. And then, of course, D. Robinson. I can't say enough for D. Robinson, guys. Way back in the day when dinosaurs were roaming. No, I'm kidding. But she's an HR executive. She was with a company out in Gainesville that you guys are familiar with. Well, you should be familiar with them. We talk about them all the time. And she can help guide you through, and she's been one of our speakers here as well. So they are leaders in the PIT crew, guys, the PIT practice interview team. If you guys got an interview coming up, you're excited about it, you really want to go to work for that company, I suggest you guys set up some time with Dee and John in the PIT crew, practice interview training, guys. We got a whole team that attends to that. So then I don't want to forget Sonia Lowry. Where is my friend Sonia? There she is back there. Sonia, guys, you should get to know her. Every Monday, we have what we call Monday Motivation. It is a group set for leaders, a lot of us executive leaders. So if you are in leadership position in corporate America somewhere, you definitely want to become a part of Monday Motivators. And we're there at 10 o'clock every Monday. And Sonia has been around forever. When I first started being a recruiter back when me and Gail's day, the first person I heard that I needed to meet was Sonia Lowry and Rex Sowett. So I've gotten both of those accomplished. So I feel like I can retire now. I can get I did my job. Okay, and it's always good to see my buddy Florence down there. When I first started doing this, I met Florence, and she got a job, and oh my God, she was gone for like 12, I think it was 12 years at Global Life, wasn't it? Yeah, absolutely. So I get to meet some of you guys, and I'm one of those country boys that get all up in your Kool-Aid. I want to know everything going on down at Kelly Wells. Absolutely. So, okay, time for me to shut up because it is time.
Jeff Morris.
And I don't want to forget, Jeff is back there sitting next to Sonia, of course. Oh, look, and there's Mike Chapman right next to Jeff. Jeff, you guys, go to careerdfw.org or careerusa.org. He is the owner, founder, everything. He'll tell you everything where all the bugs are if you're looking for one in there. And then you got Mike Chapman back there. And Mike, you should talk to Mike if you're going into a contract, if you got questions about your health insurance, things like that. I strongly suggest that you guys talk to Mike. And I think I covered just about everybody we got here. That's why I want you guys to meet each other. In 2026, and I'm going to shut up, I promise. Man, maybe for a little bit. But 2026, we got so much technology being thrown at us, and everybody's excited about AI and all of that. I am too. But guys, do not forget interpersonal relationships. If you know somebody at a company, it's going to serve you well. I love the technology, but we don't want to be just another blip on somebody's computer screen. We want it to matter. I want to be able to say, I know John earned it, and you can talk to John about me. He'll tell you something. You may not want to hire me after he tells you, but I'm kidding. But I love you guys. I love what God's got me doing, and I'm going to continue doing it. I've been off the grid since the end of September. And come on up here. This is too funny to see my sister because we couldn't get Gail to talk to nothing in the beginning, and now she's speaking all over the place, and she's grown up like a butterfly.
Like a butterfly, like
You've
something.
metamorphosized her, if that's a word, I don't know.
Something.
But we both have. I was scared to get up in front of people too. So I don't do as well as Gail, so I'm going to give you guys Gail so you can learn what you need to do in 2026. I want y'all to listen I want you to hear me what I'm telling you. Y'all listen very carefully to this lady because I still do. And a lot of what you guys get, I got from her, to be honest with you. I'm just being honest. That's me anyway. Okay, Gail, you got it.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Is that your phone or Gail's?
That's mine.
Thank you, Foster. Hi, everybody. How many people have heard me speak before? Anybody in this room? A couple folks? The jokes are the same still. Nothing changes. Do what?
I will be able to say that after today.
I know, exactly. All right, well, what I wanted to talk to you today, I want to talk to you about how you find recruiters, how you interact with them, and how you understand the changes that AI and social media have made to the job search process. If a lot of folks probably haven't searched in years, they haven't been on the market in years, and everything's changed, and it's changing rapidly over just the past 6 months. There's just been tremendous changes. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of brought you up to speed on the different changes. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is I wanted to explain the different types of recruiters. And it's important that you know this because there's a lot of spammers out there, and I want to make sure that you're avoiding the spammers. So there's different type of recruiters. You have the corporate recruiters. So these are recruiters who work for a company. They only represent that particular company, and they usually will have an email address with a company name in the email, and that's important to know. You then have contract recruiters. So contract recruiters basically are recruiters that are hired typically to work for that particular company. Most contract recruiters are white labeled, meaning you can't tell the difference between a corporate recruiter and a contract recruiter. They still typically will have the email address for the corporation. Sometimes you might see a C Like at my company now, our contract recruiters, when we have them, will have a C as part of their email address. But again, they still will have the company email address for the most part. They're considered white-labeled recruiters. The next type of recruiter that you have is a consulting firm. So consulting firms will put people out on accounts for certain periods of time, right? So it could be a 6-month contract, a year contract, that type of thing. And those are consulting firm recruiters. And again, they typically will have the consulting firm as part of their email address. You then have agency recruiters. So agency recruiters are working for a variety of different type of companies. They will call you, they will tell you that they're representing a client. Sometimes they'll give you the client name, other times they won't. But again, those agency recruiters are typically going to have the name of the agency as their email address. And then you have retained search. So retained search are the type of recruiters who get paid whether or not they fill the position regardless. All right, retained search is usually done for executive level roles or sometimes emerging market type roles. All right, you usually can't call a retained search recruiter and say, hey, I want you to represent me. That's not how most retained search recruiters work. But they're very high-end recruiters. They're usually like the Korn Ferries, the Heidrick and Struggles, things like that. So it's important for you guys to understand that, again, most recruiters will have a corporate email address. There are a lot of spammers out there, unfortunately, right now. The spammers, like right now, there's somebody representing me. They're saying that they're Gail, they work for Gail, and they're trying to get folks to go ahead and apply for these positions. And it will say like, Gail Houston at Jobs USA, or Gail Houston at some other company USA. That is not me. My email address is all over the internet. I'm super easy to identify. If you ever get an email from somebody and you're not sure, look at the email address and look at the salary range they're posting. Most of the scammers are posting wild salary ranges. All right, so they're taking a couple of positions that we have at Grail, and they're saying an accounts payable person is going to earn $170,000. All right, that's just not true. All right, so those are some of the things to look at. You'll also see misspellings. Now, it doesn't mean that corporate recruiters, agency, it doesn't mean that we don't make spelling errors, because we certainly do, especially with, mobile. Right? Getting on our phones really quick. Like I did a spelling error over the Christmas holidays because I didn't have on my glasses. But again, most of the time you're not going to see the spelling errors and things like that. So, watch out for the spammers. Anybody using a Gmail address, be very, very leery. Go to LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, when you're looking up a recruiter, how many connections do they have? How long have they been on LinkedIn? Things like that. And if you're not sure, don't engage. All right, it's not worth it for them to steal your ID, especially when you're job searching, money's already tight, and then somebody goes and takes the rest of what you have. It's just not good. There's 2 people that I follow. I follow a gentleman by the name of Jay Jones. He does this on a volunteer basis. He's removed 44,000 fake jobs on LinkedIn. There's another guy who's local. His name is Jim McConnell. He's come and he's spoken to the Recruiters Network. He's fabulous. These are 2 really great people to follow on LinkedIn. They talk a lot about how you can recognize scam posts and things like that. So I just wanted to kind of give both of them a shout out. They're both fabulous people to follow and to learn from. But please just be very careful. If you're not sure, call the company yourself and say, hey, does this person work for you? And again, if you call Grail right now, they're going to say that I work for Grail. Right? But that's when you say, but they're using this email address, things like that. And Grail will tell you, no, that's spam, okay? All right, so a lot has changed in the world of AI, right? A whole lot has changed. How we operate has changed, things like that. But there are some things that are still pretty similar. We still, for the most part, are searching the same way, right? We're searching using keywords. On some of the boards, we're searching based on what's called recency. So what recency means is, when did you post your resume? When did you upload your profile? Because again, way back in the day, the Java developers taught us that if their resume was aging on the system, they were no longer available, right? And they would yell at recruiters when we would call them, and they would say, I'm already off the market. Why are you calling me? And we would go, well, your resume is still up. But they yelled at us. And so that told us as recruiters, don't call older resumes, right? Because people forget to take them down and things like that. So we're trained by how you guys interact with us. And so recruiters stopped calling aging resumes. So a lot of the boards now will let you update your resume, on the different job boards to say, hey, I'm still looking, things like that. Google, when you update your LinkedIn profile, Google recognizes that. I don't know all the technical terms, but they recognize that as a valid profile, a profile that's active and things like that. So you show up higher in search results and things like that. The other thing we do is we look at distance, right? So if I'm recruiting for a role in Plano and you live in Fort Worth, when I call you, what do? Y'all yell at me, right? And you tell me, why would I travel that distance? So again, on a lot of these boards, I now search based on distance, as well. If you're too far out of what's considered drivable, I typically won't call you. Now, if you've applied to my role at my company site, my assumption is it doesn't matter that you live in Greenville or Fort Worth or whatever, you probably are willing to drive to that Plano location because you applied. Now, if you apply to an on-site role, and then I call you and you say, well, I only want to work remote, I live too far away, I'm not going to consider you, right? Because I don't have a remote role. I put whether or not my role is hybrid, whether my role is remote, whether it's on-site, that type of thing. But again, my assumption is when you apply to a position, you have looked up my company, you've looked up the address, and you are willing to go to that location, okay? Other things that are the same are Boolean search strings for the most part, right? So with a Boolean search string, recruiters will use all sorts of different keywords combined together to try to find you, right? And we even will use misspellings in our Boolean search strings because engineers, when they don't want to be found, will put misspellings in their profiles so that recruiters can't find them, all right? Again, we still find you. We find different ways to find you. But we will put misspellings in Boolean search strings to try to find you. Now, there's a lot of AI tools, though, in every single system now where we don't even have to use Boolean. We can just talk to whatever system it is we're looking at, and we can just say, hey, I want a Java developer with banking applications in Plano, Texas. And then the system will go do its searches, and it'll bring you to us. So we can use forms, we can use Boolean search, or we can use these AI tools that are being embedded into all of the different engines right now. The other thing that we do is we search our corporate database, right? So when you have an applicant tracking system, it's a corporate resume database. This is where we post our open positions, people apply, and then your resume starts aging, right? You're in the corporate database. We will go into the corporate database, and normally what we do is we search past positions. Does anybody know why we do that? If I'm searching a past position and you've applied to the past position, my assumption is when I call you, you're not going to yell at me. My assumption is that you've engaged with my company before. You probably have researched my company before. You probably have an interest in my company, so you will be more apt to take my call. Now, you may not be looking, but again, you'll be more apt to take the call. Unfortunately, most applicant tracking systems don't have great search tools within, and that's why we usually will go to old positions and search on them. The reason why this is important to know is as soon as your resume goes into that corporate database, it does what? Does anybody know? It starts aging, all right? And so it is critical on your resume that you have your LinkedIn URL on your resume. Because what I will do when I find your resume in the system, I'll grab that LinkedIn URL and I will go look and I will see what you've been doing lately. You know, are you still working? Are you retired? You know, have you gained a new skill? So you always want to make sure that LinkedIn URL is on your resume. The other thing that people are doing in the corporate databases is, let's say you're a graduate and you're using your school email address. So school email addresses used to last forever, but now I'm seeing more schools where they only last a year or two after you graduate and then your school email address goes away. And that's what you've used on all of your resumes. And then we have difficulty getting a hold of you. All right, so make sure that you're using an email address that you're using for job search purposes that you will take with you kind of forever. So you don't want to have an email address that says, you know, John Doe Project Manager, and that's your job search email address, because you may not stay a project manager for the rest of your career. You may think that that's what you're going to do the rest of your career, but we're seeing people make 5 and 6 different career changes throughout their life right now. But try to grab an email address that has your name in it, if possible, and then on one of the systems like a Gmail. If you have Yahoo, some recruiters don't like the old email addresses like Yahoo and AOL because they think you're not keeping up with the times. I personally don't care, but there are some recruiters out there that will look at those older email addresses and think you're not keeping up. It makes no sense to me. Okay. The other place we look is we look in job boards. So how many people have their resume on Indeed right now? Okay. How many people have their resume on like Glassdoor, six-figure jobs, places like that? Okay, so what you need to understand about job boards is companies have contracts with job boards, but they don't have contracts with all job boards. So if you are only on Indeed and I don't have a contract with Indeed, I'm not going to be able to find you unless I have a LinkedIn Recruiter account or unless I'm trying some other search tools. So you need to make sure, based on your particular industry, do you have your resume on all of these different boards so that you can be found depending on what contract that particular company has? I think Monster's still a thing. I haven't searched Monster probably in 10 years. Anybody, is Monster still a thing? Okay. But anyway, just look in your particular industry and determine, in my industry, what are the job boards that most people are using? Is it Indeed? Is it Glassdoor? Is it Career Builder, Monster, Dice, any of those? And make sure that your resume is out there. The other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are making sure when you create a resume that you're utilizing all of the different tools to help you create a great resume. And that's kind of where AI is coming in. So let me talk to you a little bit about AI. When you think about what's changing with AI, it's changing rapidly. Recruiters right now, every day, are seeing, they're seeing applicants who are doing things with auto-appliers. How many folks here are using auto-appliers right now? An auto-applier? So it's an AI tool that you sign up for, and you tell this AI tool, hey, I want you to go and apply for every job out there that I'm qualified for. All right? And in doing so, what the recruiters are seeing is we are seeing multiple applies from the same person over and over again. The applicant tracking systems are designed to not allow multiple applies, but for whatever reason, it's not working. All right? And so the recruiters right now are seeing an influx of applies coming in, and most recruiters are still looking at every single resume. So I know everybody out there thinks that AI is doing all of the resume reviews and there's not a human in the loop, there's not anybody actually looking at your resumes, you're just kind of going into a black hole. But I run the Recruiters Network locally, and most of the recruiters tell me, for the most part, most of them are still looking at the resumes because they don't trust AI to do the review yet. All right? Now, there are some companies out there where AI is doing the review, and I can't tell you who they are. It's not my company. We still physically look at every single resume. But there are companies out there that are allowing AI to do the review. You just have to make sure that when you're putting your resume in, that you've got the right keywords on your resume and things like that, so that if you are qualified, you're showing up as qualified. All right? The other thing that we're seeing a lot of cheating. So how many people have used a tool called Final Round AI? Anybody in here? Final Round AI? Okay, so what Final Round AI is it's a tool that applicants are using where they can go in and they can actually practice interviewing. So I think that's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool tool. You upload your resume, you answer questions about projects and things like that. You can upload the job description that you're interviewing for, and then you can do some kind of mock interviews. All right, so I actually think that's pretty cool. But what applicants are doing right now and what recruiters are encountering is the applicant will have their phone open during the interview, and as I ask the question, the AI tool is listening to my question and then is creating the answer. All right? And the problem is when the applicants are trying to read the answer, they have to be really skilled at kind of that in between while AI is coming up with the answer. Like how do you pause appropriately so it doesn't look like you're waiting for the answer to pop up? All right, it's very awkward. My managers have found people doing this, and they've just flat out asked, hey, are you using AI to create the answers that you're giving me? Do you mind not doing that, and let's just have a conversation? And luckily, the applicants have been honest, and they said, well, yeah, I was using Final Round or whatever AI tool it is they're using. And the manager asked them to stop, and then they have the conversation, and those candidates are being, they are being moved on. But the managers will tell me the conversation is so much better when AI isn't doing the answers. All right? So we're encountering this every single day. And you would think it's only in tech. It is not just in tech. I'm seeing it on my accounting roles. I'm seeing it on my customer service roles. I'm seeing it definitely in the tech roles, definitely in tech, but seeing it kind of all over the board. All right, so recruiters are encountering this every day. The other thing that we're also encountering is we are encountering applicants who are using fake faces and fake voices as part of the interview. The problem for corporations when applicants are doing this is we could potentially hire somebody who's fraudulent, coming from a bad actor, country, that type of thing. So we have to be really careful. If you ever have a recruiter go, wave your hand in front of your face, wave your hand in front of your face or else the interview is over. All right? If a recruiter suspects that you are using AI for any reason, this is one of the things that recruiters are being told to do, is to tell you to wave your hand in front of your face. That's why. All right, something feels off to them. All right, and there's so many scammers out there, trying to get into our companies as well, that you're just finding that recruiters are super, super leery. All right, other things that we're having to deal with is the changing laws, right? The AI laws are changing by state, not federally necessarily, but by state. And so what you were doing yesterday in reviewing resumes using AI or having AI do any type of evaluation, now in this state may not be legal. Or I may have to say, hey, if you are a New York applicant, we use AI to do XYZ, right? So a lot of the companies, they can't keep up with all of the varied laws, and so they just choose to not use AI overall. But be aware that the AI laws are changing every day, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to protect y'all as applicants. So it's not bad that they're coming out. It just makes it difficult because there's not a federal mandate. It's state by state. And so sometimes you'll see companies say, I can consider candidates from every state but these, right? And then they will not consider candidates. Usually Colorado's on the list, a couple of others due to just certain laws they have. All right, applicants are using... I'm sorry, let me tell you this, because this is kind of cool. We actually got our very first hire using ChatGPT. So the interesting thing with ChatGPT is I went into ChatGPT and I said, I need a CLIA director with molecular biology. All right? And it gave me a list of actual names, contact information in some cases. And so we actually hired a CLIA director based off of a ChatGPT search. Now, I did it again. I said, I want marketing managers that do XYZ. It gave me 50 fake names. All right? So it's not perfect. And as recruiters, we have to be really careful. But what it's doing, for the most part, it's pulling your LinkedIn URL. Now, ChatGPT, when it gave me the 50 fake names, I said, why did you give me fake names? Yesterday you gave me real names. Why did you give me fake names? And it said, I don't have access to LinkedIn. And I said, well, that's interesting, because yesterday you did have access to LinkedIn. All right? Or you access something called the org, that type of thing. So it's just really interesting. As a recruiter, we have to be super careful because, again, these AI tools are giving us fake information half the time and real information the other time. But the main place that it's searching is it's searching that public profile LinkedIn URL to help you show up in these searches. And a lot of people don't understand that if your LinkedIn URL isn't public, you're not going to show up in some of these newfangled ways that we're searching. All right, so that's something just to be aware of on your LinkedIn URL. Make sure that it's public and make sure that you're showcasing, your career, your education, that type of thing. Anyway, but it was pretty cool that we got a really critical hire off of ChatGPT. Okay, so applicants are using AI. They're using it to rewrite resumes. All right, so this is great. You have the job description, you have your resume, and you tell the AI, hey, help me rewrite the resume. The problem is when applicants are doing this, a lot of times they're not looking at what was written, and then when we interview them, they can't tell us what they meant by what it is they said on their resume. Or they don't have the skills. That's the biggest thing that we're seeing is we get these perfect looking resumes that we are so excited to see because they are just tailor made for this job and we think we have the perfect applicant, but you didn't read what you just had AI do for you. All right, and again, AI hallucinates all the time. It lies all the time. My AI is called Kevin. He's like the Home Alone kid. Half the time he's brilliant, just amazing, and the other half the time I want to wring his neck. All right, these tools lie. If you're going to use AI to help you do stuff, which again, I'm a huge proponent of using AI, but if you're going to have it help you do stuff, you have to make sure that, number one, you can stand behind the wording that it's saying, that you can still give examples, that it is truthful. If it's making up skills that you don't have, you're going to be found out. If not during the interview process, once they hire you and they discover that you don't have the skills that you said you did. All right? The use of AI tools and code assessments, how many programmers do I have here today? Software engineers? Okay, so there's a lot of discussion in code assessments right now. Do we allow you as an applicant to use AI in developing your code during a code assessment? Or do we tell you not to use it? All right, and companies are going back and forth. Anthropic, who is the creators of Claude, which is an AI tool, for years had something saying, we love AI, but you can't use AI in the interview process. About 6 months ago, they actually changed their tune and they said, you can now use AI, but you have to use it following these guidelines. All right, my company just had this huge discussion going back and forth, and so what they've decided to do for certain parts of the code assessment, they don't want you to use AI, but then for another part of the code assessment, they're okay if you use AI, but you have to explain how you're using it, and you have to understand what it's doing and things like that, and then how you're going to test it. All right, so the jury's still out whether or not they're going to allow it, kind of corporate-wide. It's really case by case right now, company by company. But the AI assessment tools that are out there right now for code assessments, they also are creating tools for companies so that you can detect fraud. So that you can detect, are they using AI where you tell them not to use AI, things like that. So just be aware of that as well. All right. How many people have utilized AI or have been interviewed by an AI interviewer? A couple of y'all? Did you like it? Okay, so he's saying it was weird. You knew it was AI because of that. I've got a thumbs down over here. My daughter, when she was looking for a job, she encountered the same AI interviewer at 3 different companies. And it was pretty early on, and she said it was weird. It would ask me a question, and then it would do this. And smile at her kind of weirdly. Now, luckily, she's not shy. Like, I am extremely shy. Like, I know you guys think I'm not because I'm a speaker up here, but I am actually extremely shy, which is why Foster was saying it was really hard to get me to speak. Luckily, this is my outgoing daughter. And so she was able to kind of get through it. But for the introverts that are out there interviewing, these AI interviewers are weird, and they really kind of put us at a disadvantage if you're an introvert. But the AI interviewers are coming. And they're going to be more predominant as the technology gets better and better. The AI interviewers just in the last 6 months have gotten better and better. Again, we're hoping that they don't replace all of us recruiters. But there are companies, especially it looks like the smaller companies, that tend to be using some of these AI interviewers. Again, the laws are changing. So if you are being evaluated by AI in the different states, they have to say you are being evaluated by AI. And then a lot of times you have the right to see the evaluation. So just keep an eye on Texas laws and things like that as well. But the AI interviewers are definitely coming, so be prepared. Sometimes you're going to see an avatar, so you're going to see what looks like a person. Other times it's just going to be like a chat bot doing the chat interview. So just kind of be prepared for that. Okay, so the next area that we're going to talk about is social. So I've been teaching this part of my presentation for a long time, and a lot of people are surprised at where all recruiters will search on social. Recruiters are stalkers. If there's humans gathering, recruiters are sitting there, right? We will find a way, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat, to try to utilize whatever social media tool it is to try to engage with candidates. So we basically use them all. On LinkedIn, that's the #1 social channel, right? It's a professional channel. It's where everybody, for the most part, is. Right? Now, some of the more entry-level folks, they haven't quite adopted LinkedIn, but even that adoption is happening right now as well. How many people use the Open to Work banner, the green Open to Work banner? Okay, so most folks do. All right, so the green Open to Work banner is actually, I personally like it. I think it's kind of a cool thing. There are recruiters who tell you not to use it. So you're going to just have to decide individually. But the green Open to Work banner basically tells anybody who runs across your profile on LinkedIn that you are open to work, that you're open to new opportunities. All right? There is a purple banner. That is a purple hiring banner. So when you see recruiters, hiring managers that have that purple hiring banner, they probably have a couple of positions posted that they specifically are looking for. And that is specific on their LinkedIn. So if you see that purple banner, take a little bit deeper look into their profile. All right? On the Open to Work banner, there is a way, if you don't want to use the green Open to Work banner, maybe you're doing more of a confidential search, maybe you just don't like the green Open to Work banner because of what some of the recruiters say about it, there's still a way for you to tell recruiters that you're looking. All right, and that's where you basically are telling LinkedIn, I'm open to work, but only to recruiters only. And the recruiters that is open to are the recruiters who have a tool called LinkedIn Recruiter. So LinkedIn Recruiter, for the most part, gives me access to every profile on LinkedIn. I pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to be able to use their fancy tool to be able to find people, right? So for the most part, I can see almost everybody. So if I have LinkedIn Recruiter and you say you're open to work, whether you have the green banner or whether you just say that you're open to recruiters only, I'm going to be able to see that you're open to work. All right? And why does that become important? Does anybody know? Okay. All right. One of the reasons why it becomes really important is because I only have so much time during the day to search. Like hiring managers think we just pull out a drawer and we have all these applicants just waiting and things like that, and that's just not the case. But I still only have a limited amount of time during the day. Yes, sir.
Quick question for you. So to let recruiters know, although only recruiters have the expensive LinkedIn package will see that. Regular recruiters that don't buy the package will not see that flag?
If you say that you're open to work to recruiters only, you have to have LinkedIn Recruiter as a tool. Just your normal recruiter that does not have LinkedIn Recruiter will not be able to see you if
Great,
you say
thank you.
recruiters only. So great call out there. When you say that you're open to work, if I only have a certain amount of time to source, to try to find people, to try to engage with people, I'm going to click on the open to work first, right? And I'm going to engage with those people first. The other thing LinkedIn does on the background that most people don't realize is if I don't have a certain number of response rate, LinkedIn can shut off my LinkedIn account that I've just paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for. And then I go into what we call LinkedIn jail. All right? So it's really difficult for tech recruiters, especially because tech recruiters are constantly going into LinkedIn jail. And we are evaluated the exact same way whether we're Google or whether we're Gail. All right? I have to have the same response rate as a Google recruiter in order to not go into LinkedIn jail. And I've told LinkedIn, I said, I pay a lot of money, but not very many people know about my company yet. So, of course, I'm not going to have the response rates that a Google recruiter has. And my recruiters are constantly being put into LinkedIn jail because they don't have the response rate. So they're trying to protect you as an applicant by having recruiters not spam you, but it does hurt the recruiters who don't have as well-known of a company. So they will always reach out to people who are open to work first, right? The problem is, yesterday I reached out to 89 people who were open to work. How many responses do you think I got back yesterday? Three. All right? So you've done the work to say that you're open to work, but you're not checking your LinkedIn emails, right? You're not checking your messages. Now, did I expect during the holiday period to have a lower response rate? Probably. But we're in January now, and I thought, okay, I've reached out to, I want to say it was like 79 different people with open to work, and I got 3 responses back. All right, so that's, even if the answer is a no, which I'm okay if you don't want to work for my company or you don't know who my company is, or maybe I'm in the wrong industry for you, whatever, you still want to respond back. And when you respond back, grab that recruiter's email, grab their phone number, because you may not be actively looking today, but you might be looking in the future, right? Or that may not be the right role for you today. Maybe the location's wrong. Maybe my territory wasn't, as broad as they want. But your friend down the street, may need a lead. Things like that. So when a recruiter reaches out to you on email, you should respond no matter what. All right? And just say, hey, thanks, that's not the right job for me. Or hey, do you have more information? Go ahead and respond. And again, that's just not to keep me out of LinkedIn jail, although that is helpful. But it's also because what people do is they only network when they need it. The most important career advice I ever got in my entire career was network when I don't need it. All right, and one of my very first bosses at EDS taught me that, and that's why I run the local recruiters network. All right, you want to network with recruiters whether you're gainfully employed or whether you're actively looking. Whether the job is perfect for you or whether it's not. Go ahead and interact.
Hey, Gail, we have a question back here, too.
Yes.
Do you get any indicator of response rate for candidates?
What do you mean? Like?
So some systems will say if someone is very responsive or responds infrequently, are there any indicators in there whatsoever?
Yeah, so there is something on LinkedIn now on the back end in the LinkedIn recruiter tool that will say that this candidate's engaged in the job search. You've got a high likelihood that this candidate will respond. There is something on LinkedIn. I don't pay tons of attention to that, but there is something in LinkedIn now that's showing us that. So
Okay.
absolutely, yes.
I have a question for you, too. So you say you reach out to candidates, and I know you have the full recruiter package. How, with that recruiter package, can you see their entire contact information?
No.
Okay, so only if you're level 1, that still applies. So you're only reaching out via what?
Via LinkedIn. I'm reaching out
LinkedIn.
via a LinkedIn email.
So if a candidate has their contact information at the top of their About section or in the banner behind them, do you use that instead, or you still use LinkedIn?
So I actually will use both. So I'll reach out via email because some people are more comfortable with that. And then if I don't hear back from them, but I can see their email address, then I will reach out via email as well.
Thank you.
So yesterday, a lot of the work that I was doing, we were doing second and third outreaches. We had one recruiter reach out to them the first time. I reached out to them the second time, things like that. And the next thing will be finding their email addresses.
Do you want to continue with questions?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, everybody in this room is gonna get a job. A lot of you guys I'm looking at are hiring managers. Y'all don't do your recruiters like this. There are a lot of new technologies out now. Some of the companies are buying some of these methodologies of operation and new ideas. And a lot of times we want to hire somebody that has experience doing these things. They haven't been out that long. So that means that there's not a lot of people on the street that have the experience level that you guys wish you could get. If your if your recruiter tells you, I'm giving you somebody I'm giving you what you're looking for, take that seriously. Ask that recruiter, should I get with this person, or are there other people out there that I can get to? A lot of you hiring managers, you guys think that so many people on the street, you think that there's
Yeah, a lot of times hiring managers will tell us they want a certain number of years of a particular skill set. And we're like, it's only been out 2 years and you want 5. So, yes.
Companies using AI to conduct interviews. Actually, I've been using a tool given to me to practice interviewing, which is AI. And one of the things that I notice is that it does give you back a transcript of the interview. And there are a lot of misspelled words in the AI. So the AI has a tendency of misspelling a lot of words. So you get I feel like that's one of the biggest problems with it. Are you seeing that? Because it kind of scares me if it can't, take in the words as I'm pronouncing them, and it's putting out things that are inaccurate.
Yeah, I mean, the transcribers are getting better every day. We don't use them yet at my company. We're looking into using it so that we can be more present during the interview. So what a transcriber is it's listening to the two-sided interview. It's listening to what I'm asking. It's listening to what the candidate is saying, and then it's giving us a transcription of the actual interview, right? And oftentimes that transcription can then be shared with the hiring managers. All right, we have to get permission. Most companies have to get permission to utilize these type of tools. They've got to go through their AI governance councils and all of that kind of stuff. So my company doesn't have it turned on right now. We may in the future. But even if I had a transcription of the interview that you and I did, I would not just give that to the hiring manager. I would go in, I would clean it up, I would put it in the format that the hiring manager is used to getting notes from me and things like that. But there's still tons of issues with AI. It's not ready to take all of our jobs quite yet. All right? Yes.
I'm going to interrupt. This is a networking meeting. If you have a question or a comment, I suggest you stand up and give us your name and what you're pursuing so people can see you and connect with you and know who you are.
Okay.
So,
All right.
sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, we have one over here.
Okay.
Good morning, Gail. My name is Sapna Shah, I'm an IT project manager. One of the questions I had when I was searching on LinkedIn yesterday, a recruiter was posting a comment about candidates that just tend to be more active, like whether it's posting or sharing news or content, just jump higher to the list of searching. Is that correct? And what kind of content are recruiters specifically looking for when they're looking for candidates that are posting?
Yeah, so it's my understanding that will help you show up higher in the search because you're active. We also can find you on Google, as well, because again, Google, you'll show up higher in a Google search because Google is seeing your profile as being active, being a real URL, a real website, if that makes sense. I always say just share content that's related to your particular industry, like what's going on in your industry, what's happening in your industry. If somebody's asking a question, asking for help, be the person in there answering the question, things like that. Again, there's recruiters lurking everywhere. We're on Reddit, we're on Stack Overflow, we're on GitHub, and we're watching kind of conversations go back and forth. And then there's different tools that we use on those sites too to try to also pull you out. So be the person answering the question. Just because you're unemployed right now doesn't mean you're no longer an expert. It doesn't mean you don't have valuable information to share. Like a lot of people feel like as soon as they're unemployed, they take away their URL, their headline in LinkedIn, and they just say, I'm looking for work. But they don't have that they're a project manager and banking and that type of thing anymore. So you never want to get rid of your headline just because you're out of work, right? You still are a project manager. You're still a Java developer. You're still a marketing professional. And you still have relevance and you still have conversations, that you can contribute to. So that's the type of thing we're looking for. It's not always the person asking the question. It's the person answering the question. All right, and especially if you have a manager, like a lot of times hiring managers, they want people who are gainfully employed for whatever reason. If you have a hiring manager who wants somebody who's gainfully employed and they're insisting that a recruiter is going after the hunt, the recruiter is doing a lot of those searches looking for those kind of conversations going back and forth. All right, Now, when my managers tell me that, I tell them that they're missing out on great talent, and then I remind them of hires that we've had that we're looking, things like that. So, but again, not every recruiter is willing to push back on a hiring manager. Okay, so this again is your public profile URL in LinkedIn. So everybody in LinkedIn has a URL that's assigned to them. And the more recently you've joined LinkedIn, the longer your number is. All right? So you want to go in and you want to make sure you're customizing your URL because you're going to put it on your resume and things like that. How many people are marketing in here? Okay. As a marketing person, if you don't have a customized URL, I worry about whether or not you understand all of the social media sites. Okay, so it's super important for the marketing folks to make sure that you've got a customized URL. You also want to make sure, like I told you, you want to make sure that it's public. And the reason why you want it public is because not every recruiter has the expensive LinkedIn recruiter tool, and they might be using Google to try to find you. If they're not connected to you on LinkedIn, they may not be able to find you on LinkedIn if you're too many degrees of separation away, but they can go out to Google and they can find you in Google if you have a public profile. LinkedIn has consistently made it harder and harder and harder to do the privacy settings. They were copying Facebook, which has always been difficult in Facebook. And so now you have to make sure all your sliders are pushed aside, pushed one way, that type of thing. So just make sure that you have a public profile. Go out and search Google yourself, and put that you're, a marketing manager, you're looking for somebody from Gail, that type of thing, and see where you come up in the search. Okay, this is the back end of LinkedIn. This is the LinkedIn Recruiter tool that I was talking to you about. So in the LinkedIn Recruiter tool now, we can do AI searches. I can just go into LinkedIn Recruiter, and I can just talk to it and say, hey, find me a project manager with, PMP in the Dallas area with banking, right? So I can just talk to it. I can fill out a form in LinkedIn Recruiter that's a lot more detailed, or I could use their search tool, and I could do Boolean search and things like that, all right? The thing I want you to pay attention to is the open to work, the active talent, the rediscovered, the internal, and the interested in your company. Interested in your company means that you're following my company page or you've interacted with one of our paid advertisements. All right? Again, if you're interested in my company, my assumption is you're going to respond to me when I reach out. All right? We've talked about open to work, so we all know what that is. Active talent. This is that question you asked about, can we tell when people are actively looking? They're responding to emails, things like that. This is under the active talent. Rediscovered candidates. So these are people who've probably applied at my company in the past, and they potentially could be somebody that we're interested in the future. LinkedIn is constantly changing this area and how the search is. This was updated just a couple of days ago. So this is how it currently looks now. All right, but again, they're constantly changing. Like I'm glad that you brought up, can I tell that I've got a higher potential that you'll respond? Because that is true. I can now see that. I can see that you're actively engaged in the job market, things like that. All right, so this is the Google searches that I told you about. So I can just go to Google and I can say that I want a resume, I want it to be a chief architect, I want him to work for Meta. And I can find you via Google. So we're searching this way too. I can actually do what's called an insight search. And I can say I want to do an insight search from LinkedIn, and I want a chief architect and things like that as well. So there's all different ways that recruiters are trying to find people using Google too. But again, that public profile URL is critical because that's one of the main ways that you're found. It's not the only way, but it is one of the main ways that you're found. How many people are in Facebook groups? Okay. I actually love Facebook groups compared to LinkedIn groups. I feel like Facebook groups are some of the most useful career search groups out there. Do I have any product managers in the room? Okay, maybe one. Okay. So there's a women in product group on Facebook that was one of the very first groups I ever interacted with. It's an amazing, amazing group. These women will go and they'll support each other. They'll help each other. You can ask for a resume review. You can say, hey, I'm getting ready to interview at Google. Can anybody give me any insight in the interview process? Things like that. So when I was recruiting product managers for 5 years at Intuit, every time somebody out on this group would say, hey, can anybody review my resume? What would I do as a recruiter? Respond. and say, yeah, I've been interviewing product managers for 5 years. I'm happy to review your resume. I would put my work email address out there. When I did that, I would always get 10 resumes to review. I don't know why it was that number. I would get about 8 to 10 resumes every time I offered to review one person's resume out there. So I would review their resume. I would give them a presentation I had on resumes, things like that. If they were good, what did I do? Recruited them. All right? Again, we lurk everywhere. We are in every single group. There is a recruiter sitting somewhere, and if there's not a recruiter, there's a hiring manager. All right? So that's why I love these Facebook groups. There's a group called Black Cloud Geeks. I absolutely love Black Cloud Geeks. It started by a guy out of Atlanta, and someday I'm going to hire this guy. He's so positive, and he does so much work to educate and to bring up the community of tech folks that are following him, and things like that. So go out to Facebook. I would encourage you to go out there, find a group that's related to your particular skill set, and see if it's a good group. Some of them are good, some of them are not. So if you're not in a good group, if it's spammy, don't join it. But again, a lot of the groups are really valuable. Okay, so this is, again, just where we're talking about, utilizing these groups for career advice and things like that. The one thing I will tell you on these groups is I get that it's Facebook and I get that it's social and I get that it's your social media page, but if you're bitter, if you're mean, if you're nasty, there is no hiring manager ever that has told me to go hire me a mean, bitter, nasty person. Some of the things that I see done and talked about in these groups, I would never hire the person. They are lying about references. They're like, hey, I need 3 references. Who will reference me? And all these people volunteer. They're like, I'll reference you. What do you need me to say? Do you not think that hiring managers and recruiters are sitting in these groups watching you lie? It happens every single day. It's not tolerated on Women in Product. It's not tolerated on Black Cloud Geeks and in some of these other groups. But in some of the other groups I'm on, I'm like, wow. All right? I don't go recruit any of those people because they're not honest, they don't have integrity, and they're willing to lie to get ahead. All right, so be careful in these groups too. I know it's a social media site, but when you're using it for your job search, there's people watching how you behave. All right, so just be really careful, please. All right, we can also do, again, this is the insight search on Facebook. So again, there's certain parts of your Facebook profile that you can make public, just like a LinkedIn URL. And I always tell people, make your work public, make your education public, things like that, hide all the other stuff. All right? I don't care what you had for dinner last night. It doesn't make any difference to me that you can cook or not cook. Can you code? That's what I care about. All right, we also use X. How many people are using X, which also used to be known as Twitter, to find jobs? Okay, just a couple of people. So you will find recruiters, they're posting jobs. They've got life pages and things like that out on X. I haven't used it as much in the last year or so, but I used to use it all the time. It was always a free way for us to find people. We would advertise that we had, we were looking for tax advice people when I worked for Intuit and things like that. And we actually ended up with more hires off of Twitter than we did off of a Google ad that we paid for and ran. All right? So it's just another place. If you're not having any luck on the other sites, it's just another place to go see if you can find jobs. This is an example when applicants were applying. All right. How many people have ever done kind of a how-to YouTube search video? Couple people? Okay. YouTube is a great place to search. I'll go to YouTube to learn about maybe a brand new position that I'm recruiting for so that I can sound intelligent when I'm talking to you. Because I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but I don't know a thing about SRE. I don't know a thing about DevOps. So I have to go learn it first before I can go recruit an SRE person or a DevOps person. And this is when I really started to use YouTube, is I found a couple of the experts out there. And when I found these experts out there, what did I do? Tried to recruit them. All right? So if you are not shy like me, like I would not do a video, but if you're not shy and you're willing to do a video, you can go out there and you can talk about your industry. And you can talk about, this is what SRE means, and this is what DevOps means, and this is how you do things as a marketing person, that type of thing. You can then get a following on YouTube, and again, recruiters will end up finding you. All right? The kids today in this generation, they learn everything on YouTube. Everything. So if you're building a team, you're a hiring manager and you're building a team and things like that, do something on YouTube. The kids will find you. All right? GitHub. I know I have a couple tech people in here. I'm assuming y'all are all on GitHub. Yes? Okay. I don't like searching GitHub myself. I like going to a tool I call OctoHunt to try to find the tech people. OctoHunt has just a nicer front end. And so this, again, is just another way that I'm finding you. But again, we're looking at their repositories in GitHub and in Stack Overflow. All right, TikTok. So we had a recruiter at Intuit. He was a university recruiter, and he actually was older. He was in his 50s. But when TikTok first became popular, he immediately seized that opportunity out on campus, and he was able to increase our hires on the Stanford campus from like 2 to 3 to 18. Because he started to engage with people on TikTok. So he would say, hey, meet me in the cafeteria for coffee. Hey, I'm doing resume reviews, things like that. My kids think he's the coolest recruiter ever. I can't convince them that he's not, because they think he's awesome. Because he would post sloth pictures and things like that. Even though he was older, he understood how the younger generation was working, and so he was engaging with them out on TikTok. So again, it's just another place to be found, and especially if you guys have young kids that are looking right now, there's recruiters using TikTok still to recruit people. Okay, once you've found a job, what do? What should be the first thing you do? See if you have internal contacts. Now, what I will tell you, depending on the particular career, so if you're a recruiter and you're looking for work right now, I will tell you, do not waste any time looking for internal contacts. The first thing you need to do is apply. Why?
Because you'll pull it down.
Because that job is coming down in a few hours, right? Speed right now for some of these jobs, some of these careers is everything, because there's so many unemployed people in particular industries that the recruiters don't leave them up for very long. We actually have an email that when we take a job down, we send out an email. We say, we have temporarily taken the position down. We've been overwhelmed with response. We will reach out to you in a few days with a decision one way or another. And then we put the position back up if we haven't found what we need. But we had to create that email because, again, depending on the particular job, sometimes the response is overwhelming. And so you will see positions go off and on and off and on. And especially if you're a recruiter looking for work right now, those jobs are coming down literally within hours, so you have to apply quickly. Now, if you're an architect, a Java architect, something like that, you may not have to respond quite as quickly. But if you're a project manager, I don't leave project manager jobs up very long. I get overwhelmed. I leave them up for a short time and then I take them down. Doesn't mean the position's filled. It just means I can't deal with the thousands and thousands of resumes coming in because, again, I look at everything. I believe if you took the time to respond, you deserve a real-life human looking at your resume. All right, so just be careful with that. But you do want to try to find those internal contacts, right, so that person can reference you in. The other thing I want you to do, because of the amount of scammers, is see if you can find recruiters that are out working for that particular company on LinkedIn. Sometimes you can find the hiring managers. Again, a lot of times the hiring managers have the purple hiring banner. Yes, sir.
In your opinion, is it better to do the fast apply now button in LinkedIn, or is it better to apply on the company website, take the extra time to fill in the full application that way?
So personally, I've heard issues with the fast apply button. I don't care personally one way or another. It doesn't matter to me, but I have heard the better thing to do is to go to the company website and apply there. Number one, you make sure that it's a valid job. It's not a spam posting, things like that. And again, I've heard issues with the fast apply. I haven't had any myself personally.
Gail, just time check. How much longer do you have to go?
Just a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And he had a question real quick. Right here. He's bringing you a mic. Okay. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So everybody hits the fast apply, and not a lot of people go to the company website, right? So the extra step.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mike, I'm a digital project manager. Question, you mentioned about speed and jobs opening and closing. I've always kind of viewed, especially for the big companies, when they have a job posting that they repost, that it's like a ghost job. But what I'm hearing you say before is that may not necessarily be the case. That it may be just a turn off due to the high volume.
Yeah.
Any tips on how to handle that, the ghost job versus what you just said earlier?
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about jobs out there that are ghost jobs. They're not real jobs, and that jobs are constantly being reposted over and over again, and recruiters were being yelled at constantly for that. Guess what? I don't control the postings. All right? My applicant tracking system, the way that it's set up with our job posting, I can control the posting whether or not I take it down or up, right? But once it's up, if it's constantly reposting, that's just whatever refresh we're on, right? So I'm not going out to LinkedIn and reposting it manually. I'm not going out to Indeed and Glassdoor and reposting it manually. That all is happening behind the scenes. But again, recruiters were being yelled at every day. Stop reposting your jobs. They're not real. They're ghost jobs. I don't know. I personally do not know a single recruiter that puts a fake job out there just to grab resumes. Now, I know that you hear about it all the time, and I'm sure that there's terrible companies out there that are doing this kind of crap. I personally don't know any. I don't know any recruiters who do that. If a job is still posted, it's normally because they're still recruiting. Okay? Again, not 100%. There's never 100% anywhere, but I've never posted a fake job.
I want you to finish. So we hold off on the questions until you finish your presentation?
Sure.
Then we can pick those up.
Okay. All right. You're going to get this presentation, guys, so that you can go through it, because, again, we go through everything really fast. There's super easy ways for you to find recruiters on LinkedIn, so this page just kind of tells you how to do it and what to look for and things like that. Read their headlines. A lot of times the recruiters will tell you, hey, don't in-mail me, send me an email. That's been in my LinkedIn as long as I can remember, and I get in-mails all the time. Email me. I can respond much faster via email than via in-mail. All right. Whenever you're responding to in-mails, again, don't send an in-mail just saying, hey, can I send you a resume? Make sure you look at the company website first. A lot of people are also using LinkedIn kind of as a chat site and just sending me in-mails using the word hi. I don't respond, okay, because I don't know who you are, and it's not a chat site. You may see that I'm online, and so you may think if you say hi that I'll respond back. I don't, all right? I don't want to be scammed. Okay, these are just, again, you're going to get this presentation. These are just things, to not say, when you're dealing with recruiters. So just make sure you don't say, can I send you a resume? Do you have any openings? Can you use my background? I don't know where you live. I don't know what it is you do. And I get all of these just like random requests for help. And I have a heart for the applicant, and I really try to help everybody, but I don't know anything about you. So you just simply saying, do you have a job? Well, I may have 500 jobs, right? Do I have a job overseas for you? Do I have a job? I need more information. So give the recruiter as much information as you can so that they can help you. All right. T cover letters are great. If you're going to do a cover letter, you can make a cover letter the first page of your document. A T cover letter basically says, okay, recruiter, here's what you asked for and here's how I fit. It doesn't exactly have to be in the shape of a T, but if you're interested in doing a cover letter, this is my favorite format. So just go out on Google. There's, and again, a short example in the presentation as well. A lot of people say I can't attach a second document. That's where I make the cover letter the first page. All right? Of the resume. Yeah. And again, I've got examples in here. If I turn you down for a position, don't call me a pinhead. Don't cuss me out. Don't tell me how stupid I am. Because the last thing I want to do is turn somebody down. What if I had another job coming? And you've just called me names. Do you think that you're the first person I go to and say, I remember that bitter person and I'm going to go help them? I know. And I've got an applicant that I've been dealing with for probably about 6 months now that I'm determined to get hired. You know, and I was presenting his resume again last night. He's always been kind. You know, he's always been professional. He's always been respectful. When you guys are mean to us, we say that we've dodged a bullet. All right? Because if you're going to treat me this way, how are you going to treat our customers? How are you going to treat your coworkers? Things like that. So again, just be kind in whatever interactions you have. Yeah, I think I'm mic'd up now. So I'm super transparent as a recruiter. There's a lot of new pay transparency laws across the United States where I have to list what I'm paying. So for all of my interviews, I just tell people, here's the range. You know, do you fit within the range? And they usually will say, yes, but I'm at the high end. Yes, I'm kind of in the middle, you know, that type of thing. Just be transparent. Now, everybody feels like if you say something first, I'm going to lowball you. Guys, it doesn't do me any good to lowball you. You're going to leave, right? If I lowball you, you're going to know it because you're going to talk to your coworkers and things like that. We make fair offers. If you say something that's too low, I will tell you it's too low. But again, not every recruiter does it. There's a lot of other recruiters in the room. They may disagree with me. But I'm super transparent.
And hang on one second. John's got an announcement he wants to make real quick here.
Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go till about 11:30, and then I'll call out the people here for the first time at Frisco Connect. We're gonna invite you to a welcome meeting. We'll serve some light refreshments and whatnot. And the other thing I want to ask you is, and I know it's 30 minutes from now, but try and remember, if you would, before you leave, when we're finished, you can hang around and do some more networking. How many of you met somebody new today? That's what it's all about. All right. So before you leave today, please take your cups and stuff and put it in the trash can. And if people would be kind enough to gather up the stuff on your table, the cards and the sheets, it would make things a lot easier. So I just want to make you aware of that right now. I'm sorry.
No.
All right, so let me, to Rebecca's question, as job seekers, all of you should have an idea of what your salary range is already. If you don't, then do your research. There's plenty of websites out there, from PayScale to salary.com to all of these. You can do your research so you know what your range is when Gail asks what you're looking to make. Because that way you guys both know. When Gail says, this is my range, you know your range, you're in the same ballpark, you can keep talking. But please do your homework and please know your range so you know going in what your expectations are as well as what Gail's expectations are for her company. All right, who else had a...
Yeah, Texas doesn't have pay transparency laws right now, so we're not required if we're posting a role in Texas to list. But if you have a company that's headquartered in a state that does have pay transparency, normally they just do pay transparency across all states. So just as an FYI.
Thank you so much. I'm Louisa Jimerson, a Senior Communications Manager. And my question, I have two questions. One is around qualifications. You see sometimes where even in the job posting it says, hey, even if you don't meet all of the requirements, go ahead and apply. But then you click, apply, and there are 455 people who have clicked apply. How do you, what is a candidate supposed to do when you think, I've got maybe 50, 60, even 70%, I just don't have maybe the remaining amount? How do we approach those kinds of jobs?
Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, those numbers that you see in LinkedIn on how many candidates have applied, they're lying.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that LinkedIn is lying to lie to you, but they can't follow the process all the way through.
Okay.
So you may have clicked on it. Guess what, guys? I click every single day to share a lead with somebody. I never apply to any of them. But I've clicked on it, and that counts me as an apply for whatever reason. So those numbers aren't real because we've done the back and forth in our database compared to what it's saying. It's just not real. Okay. So don't worry about that.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, those 450 applies, they may not be qualified.
Okay.
Right? So if you think that you meet the qualifications, go ahead and apply. When you're looking at whether do I meet 100% of the qualifications, do I meet 80% of the qualifications, that type of thing, it depends on what the main qualifications are.
Okay.
If I need a Java developer and you don't have Java, but it's a Java developer and that's the one point that you don't meet, guess what? You're not getting the job. Yeah. Right? So you have to look at what the job is. And again, you guys do these jobs, right? So you know, gosh, for this job, I probably need to have these skills. This is a learnable skill. So a lot of times, again, if you think about if you were hiring, would you look at somebody with your skill set? So kind of put yourself in those shoes. Usually, though, I'll say if you meet 80%, go ahead and apply. If you meet 60%, it depends on what 60% you're meeting.
Okay.
All right? So just really look at what the qualifications are.
Great. My second question is about, you mentioned response rates for in-mail. I've kind of been hit with the opposite experience where I would get, an in-mail, I respond immediately, then I get ghosted and try to follow up. And so just seeing what your thoughts are on trying to approach that thoughtfully.
Yeah, so oftentimes you can see the recruiter's email. And so if you responded via in-mail and they're not responding back, you can see their actual email. So go ahead and grab their email and send them an email. I check my email every single day. I don't always check my in-mail every single day. So sometimes that happens. The other thing that you have to understand about ghosting from recruiters right now is in many cases they may have lost their jobs. Right? And oftentimes when a recruiter gets laid off, they don't get any time to clear their desk. They're walked out immediately. They could have interviews that are lined up. They could have in-mails that are out. They could have emails that are out, but they're no longer there to be able to say, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm turning this over to another recruiter. So keep that in mind. It's been the worst recruiting market. I've been doing this 38 years. It's the worst recruiting market I've ever seen. It's taking us a long time to start landing. Now, I am starting to see some landing, so my hope is maybe the market's starting to turn. But I'm not confident enough yet for me to say the market's turning. Okay? Yes.
Hi, Gail. Dee Robinson. I'm a retired VP of HR and pit crew volunteer. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. A couple of questions. When you talked about the different kinds of recruiters at the beginning, there's a lot of questions that we get when candidates are asked to sign a right to represent. Are you familiar with the right to represent agreements?
Yeah, so right to represent has to do typically with an agency recruiter or with one of the consulting firms. So the way that a lot of jobs go out to consulting firms is there's a vendor management system. And so a company will send out basically a job order, and it goes to all of these vendors, and then the vendors are in a race. And so that's why they're having you sign something called the right to represent.
And so would you recommend that candidates limit the duration of that right to represent, either for that one specific position or for 30 days, or any expertise or guidance there?
I don't have any expertise. It also depends on will they let you limit it, because that's changing on contract. And I don't know if they let you do that or not. I haven't worked for a consulting firm, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay.
Specifically one job that you're talking about and not just open-ended. Make sure that contracts, if you're applying for a project management job, make sure it says project management job and the job number, because otherwise, how do I phrase this delicately? They'll own you know what? For any job you apply at that company. So be very specific about time frame and the actual specific job that you're interacting with them on.
And then I have a question on AI. I've encountered candidates that are very reluctant to participate in the AI interview process because they don't want to give their voice and their likeness away. Have you encountered that with candidates? I feel like this is the way of the world. As someone said, I heard recently, To say you're not going to use AI is like saying that you aren't going to use email. Like it is here and it is a tool, but have you encountered that? And do you have any?
I haven't encountered that personally. Like most of these AI interviews that are going on, they're not trying to take your likeness or your voice. They're just trying to get screened quickly. And so you can opt out of the process, you know, and in some states you have to have an alternative. So in some states, the law is if I want to opt out of the AI process, I'm allowed to do that, and then the company has to provide an alternative. Texas doesn't have those laws right now, right? We're usually pretty employer friendly here. I don't know any of them that are stealing your likeness. I just don't. So, and I agree. To me, AI right now is very similar to social media. I remember when Rex and I introduced Twitter to one of the workshops that we were doing, and these applicants started like yelling at us and telling us, you know, you're just making me pick another tool, you know, that type of thing. When we start talking about some of these things that are up and coming, some of these things that are new, some of these things that are scary, we're talking about it because you don't have any choice. You're going to have to start adopting because this is where the world is going. These AI interviewers are coming. They're not going to come to every company, but my daughter encountered 3 in her job search. You know, and she didn't do that long of a job search, and she encountered 3. I personally haven't encountered one, but it doesn't mean I won't. You know, so to opt out, you could possibly opt in out on an opportunity.
Let me add to that. The main point here is making sure the recruiter you're working with is legit. Mm-hmm. Because if it is a rogue recruiter out there, bad actor, as they call them, and they engage you in this AI, then they may be stealing your voice and likeness for nefarious reasons. So as long as you verify that it's a legit recruiter, a legit company, then you should be okay, because Gail's right. This is not like opting out of using a PC computer or something.
Right.
It is the way we do business now. So keep that in mind. But please make sure anybody you're dealing with at any level is legit. That's the number one thing to consider.
Correct. Thank you.
Miguel Castillo, I'm seeking a VP or Director in Finance, mostly financial planning and analysis. Thank you for your presentation, Gail. A lot of information, you know. The question that I have is, you had a slide that had, you know, back again to AI, all the percentages of people are like cheating on certain aspects, certain circumstances. And I was curious, you didn't talk about the one that that spelled out people cheating in in-person interviews. So what are people doing there? You know, I can easily understand that if you are doing a virtual, you know, interview, that you could do many things there, but in person, it had a percentage that was I don't know, between 15 and 20%. Don't recall the exact percentage, but what are people using or doing that they're cheating in an in-person interview?
So it's my understanding, like you're using AI to write your resume and to say that you have all these skills, and then they're coming to do the in-person interviews, and they're finding that everything that you said, the whole reason why you got invited in, isn't actually valid. So that's my understanding of that percentage. So it could be something even deeper than that, but that was my understanding, is we're just finding that a lot of times the skills you're listing on your resume aren't real.
I did have a gentleman tell me they flunked an interview here a couple of months ago because a recruiter asked him for something that was on his resume, and he froze, didn't know how to respond, because he had done it through AI. AI inserted something in there he had never done before, and boy, was he embarrassed, because that interview ended right then and there. So
Yeah,
please.
I mean, AI is going to look at the job description, and oftentimes they're going to insert stuff that is not true.
Correct.
And so whatever you write on your resume, you darn well better own.
Absolutely.
Right? You have to be able to say, this is real. Because again, it lies to me all the time. My AI, Kevin, and I, we go round and round and round because it's always lying. He's a mischievous.
Hi, my name is Florence Hogan, and I'm in Inside Strategy and Market Research. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And one of the questions that I have is in regard to, you had mentioned InMail on LinkedIn or email, and you were telling us things that we should not do, like you had put up on your presentation. Can you give us some recommendations on some examples of, you know, like what we should be saying in those InMails? And also, if we're making, that's number one. And then second, if we're making an introduction, like if I know a recruiter and someone has asked me to connect them with that recruiter, what should the protocol be for that?
Okay, so a couple of things. So when you're sending a recruiter an in-mail or even an email, give them all of the information they need, right? Because when that recruiter reads that email or in-mail, you've got that one shot for them to respond. Because we probably all have ADD, right? You know, if we need to wait for information, like if you send me something and you say, you know, can I send you a resume? Why are you doing that? Just send me the resume. You've already sent me an email. Just go ahead and send me the resume right then. Look on my career site and pick a particular job. Don't just say, hey, do you have any jobs for me? So you want to do everything you can to give the recruiter all the tools they need to answer your question right then and there, because that's when you have their attention, right? If they're waiting or they're having to go and look up things or go and find things, you run the risk of them forgetting and moving on to something else. Right? And so I need all the information up front, because I am perfectly willing to get you to the right person at my company if you give me all the information up front. But if I'm waiting for you then to attach the resume, go look at my career site, figure out if any of the jobs match, I may forget to do it. You know, and that's just being really honest with you. But if you give me everything up front, I will get it done and it will be on to the right person. Now, I can't control whether or not that person responds, though. Right? And so sometimes people will get mad and go, well, Gail, I still haven't heard anything from you. Okay, I've done everything I was supposed to do. I can't make that other person respond. All right? And if you are doing an introduction, it's the same thing. Give whoever you're introducing to all the information you can, not just, hey, John is interested in a role at your company. What's the recruiter supposed to do with that? What role? What location? What type of skill set? Because again, if they're waiting for info, you've lost their interest. You know, and that's just simply due to the supply and demand right now of the number of in-mails and emails that are hitting us every day. And again, guys, recruiters, we don't have a lot of people left. My team was 47. We're down to a team of 4. You know, so there's only so many people left right now in the recruiting industry that's trying to manage all of this. So you need to do everything you can to help them help you, and that's by giving them all the information up front. All right, and it doesn't mean my company is doing bad. We're trying to get FDA approval. So, okay. What other questions?
Chelsea Sims, I'm strategy and business operations. You had a slide with the T cover letter that I'd never seen that before, so thank you for sharing. Based on previous advice, I have all but eliminated the cover letter from my job search. I just wanted to get your opinion on if it's necessary, when it's necessary, and anything about a cover letter.
Yeah, so I'm kind of indifferent to cover letters personally. Like, I can take them or leave them because they're either really well done or they're poorly done. But if you are going to do a cover letter, I love the T cover letter, because I could have, let's say, back when I worked at EDS, I would have 500 roles at a time that I was responsible for filling. So when somebody did the T cover letter, it was great because they would say, Gail, look, you've got this job, and here's what you're asking for, and here's how I match. So it was a really good exercise for me to very clearly look at it and go, yeah, you're absolutely right. You do match, and get you sent on to the right person. You know, again, I can take them or leave them. There's a lot of debate out there on cover letters, but if you're going to do them really well.
Okay, guys, cover letter. If the job posting asks for a cover letter, can you be obedient? Every company does things differently. Sometimes, and I've been one of those that ask for a cover letter. I got a good reason to ask for a cover letter. You better give me a cover letter. Just saying.
Well, and I can give you another example. So like on calendar invites that we send out, it specifically says, please choose multiple times, because the hiring manager's schedule changes or my schedule changes. I have an applicant who 3 times, I keep saying multiple times, and they keep choosing 1 time at a time. It's taken 3 days to get them scheduled. Because what y'all don't understand is, yes, I sent you a calendar invite, but guess what? I also sent it out to 10 other people. And I have hiring managers also putting things on my calendar. So anything can change. So really read the instructions. If it asks for multiple times, there's a reason. It's because the calendars constantly change. Like this candidate was like, you know, I still haven't gotten a Zoom invite for you. And I'm like, well, you can't because I can't find a time, right? And so I asked again, please put multiple times. And this morning, right before I came in, I was actually doing it from my car, sent me one time again. All right, follow the instructions. There's reasons why they're asking us because they're trying to schedule you quickly. And again, I can't control who's putting things on my calendar. Not when it's hiring managers. They're in more control than me.
Do you worry about people like that who can't follow simple directions?
Yeah, yes.
I mean, I would as a hiring manager. I'd tell you right now, if you
Yes.
can't follow that simple direction.
Especially when I wrote back and I said, please choose multiple times. I mean, it's already in the first invite, but I did say it again. Please choose multiple times as the calendar is constantly changing. You know, and again, Monday morning, you'll see lots of recruiters sending out calendar invites. Those calendars are going crazy usually on Monday mornings. Okay. What other questions? Yes. Yeah, so she's asking when the best time to reach out to recruiters is. Every recruiter is different. Like, there is no set, this is the best time. But a lot of times, the first thing the recruiter does in the morning when they come and they're looking at their emails is they're answering hiring manager emails first, applicants that are engaged with you second, and then everything else. You know, I don't go through my emails and start at the top and just go all the way down to the bottom. I can't. I have to answer those critical hiring manager emails because they might be making an offer. You know, things like that. So that's kind of the direction I go. I do try to look at resumes every morning, but I also will look at resumes every night. You know, and if I'm sending you a rejection, email at midnight, you will be out on LinkedIn the next day complaining that I sent you a rejection email. But then if I don't send you a rejection email when I happen to look at it, then you think that you've gone into the black hole. So applicants are never happy with us. Y'all just aren't. We shouldn't send a rejection email on a Friday because we've now ruined your weekend. But then you complain that we didn't get a hold of you. Like, I'm telling you, like, the whiplash that we receive out there is interesting because they're like, there is no way that I applied and this recruiter immediately rejected me. Well, guess what? You may have applied at the exact time I happen to be reviewing resumes. So yes, I did reject you at the exact time you applied because I happen to be in the system and it just happened. That's just when it happened. And if you don't think I review resumes at midnight and 1 and 2 in the morning, y'all are crazy. Like, I review resumes at that time all the time. I have insomnia. I'm always up reviewing resumes. All right? So, but I have learned to try to wait till the next morning to send it. And if you have an applicant tracking system that allows you to schedule, I do now schedule. So I'm trying not to send them at midnight because y'all all think that's AI. There is no AI going on, guys. It's all me. So the problem is time zones. So it may be 5 in the morning for you, maybe earlier, or later somewhere else. You don't know where these recruiters sit, And so yeah, I mean, it's terrible at 5 a.m. to get them. I try to send them 8 or 9 o'clock on, but again, not every applicant tracking system has the scheduling. And so it's a two-edged sword. Do you want feedback or do you not want feedback? I personally would rather have feedback no matter when it comes in, but I do try to be super sensitive to applicants, so I try not to ever reject you on a Friday now, because y'all don't like that. So I try really hard. I try not to reject you at 5 a.m. I have gotten better. I try to tell you guys that I am a human being looking at your resume so you don't feel like you're going into the black hole. But again, I don't know what time zone everybody's in. And half the time, you guys leave your address off resumes. I don't know what time zone you're in. I don't have a clue what time zone you're in. You've left any identifying information off the resume, so I may be sending it at 8 o'clock my time, and you happen to be in California, and so that's 6 o'clock your time, and so now I've upset you because I've sent it so early in the morning. But you left your address off the resume. How am I supposed to know? So it's difficult. I love it. I love it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes.
Hey, Jonathan Panza. I'm an IT program manager, Sagittarius. I like long walks on the beach and paychecks.
Are you sensitive? That's all I want to know.
A quick question for you. So I've had a ton of, I don't know, they're reverse recruiters where they come in and they often will try to tell me my resume needs to be redone because it scores only so high on an ATS. And one actually told me I needed to write an LSP, a leadership statement of purpose, and some other document, LSM or something. And I'm like, what? I'm not sure if any of that is legit or if it's just people trying to sell you stuff.
It's just people trying to sell you stuff for the most part.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, we're wrapping up here 11:30, so we got time for what, 1 or 2 more questions? Who else got a question?
And I will have to leave immediately after because I've got a meeting. So just so y'all know, I'm not trying to be rude.
Okay, Jennifer Rovira. I'm a learning and development manager. My question is on LinkedIn. They've been trying to sell the, there's like 3 times a month you can tag a job as you're super interested. And have you seen that on LinkedIn? Are you getting that?
I haven't seen that.
So you're not even seeing people tagging the job as something they're really interested in?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. I was just curious because it seemed like I couldn't figure how that would.
Yeah, I mean, it may show up. It may
recruiters.
be in beta right now. You know, I haven't seen it though.